Right there at the Brickle Block building is the restrooms. They are open. There's air conditioning in there. So if you need to go in and get some air conditioning and use the facilities, go ahead and do that. You're going to have your car going again. So Sean has graciously his Tesla that's out here because it's electric and it can run all day in air conditioning mode. He's been leaving that running if anybody needs to get out of the heat and into the air, or if we have a heat casualty.
Tribe.
Right in there. Yep, that's a great thing for the tribe.
Yeah, just press the big shiny buttons and the doors will open and pop out.
Nice. You know, and look out for each other. Look out for each other. There's nothing here that we're doing today that we can't stop and take a break if we need to.
Yep.
Try and man or woman through it. If your belly starts feeling a little weird, you stop sweating, the outer fringes start coming in, okay, we need to stop.
Yeah.
We need to stop, okay, because you're getting too much. Fundamentals of marksmanship, but we can break them down to we hold the rifle, we aim the rifle, and we shoot the rifle. Okay? Pretty easy. You guys have all heard me say before, there's nothing advanced out there. It's just the basics. It's applying the basics sometimes in an advanced manner, but it's just the basics. So, you know, we can't make it any easier than that. Hold, aim, and shoot. Okay, now those subtasks go in there, and those are important that we know what they are and how to apply them. Okay? But it just, at the end of the day, it comes down to hold, aim, and shoot. Okay? We've got the anatomy targets that are here. Okay, graphic representations of the anatomy in the body. As we're talking high center chest, I want you to understand and know where the vitals are within the human body. Because traditionally, when we're on the range and we're training, it's always one-dimensional. We've got a target out there, we stand facing the target, and we do the drills, and we never put it into context. Number is and what the color is.
I guess we're moving down.
And George, you need a bag?
Yes.
Is that a cowgirl?
Yeah. Yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go grab it.
All right, so I'm down to 8 now?
Yeah, because now we're adding more people on this side. 10,
Now you're
9, 8.
Shot your rounds, make sure you're on safe. You don't worry, you can make your way back. You can go ahead and get up.
Should have stretched my hip. First round, you ripped it off right away.
That's a keeper. I've got 100 yard zero, so I'm going to be low. That's good.
Good job. You got all the good stuff.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What happened?
I shot him.
He shot at my target.
Oh.
Looking good. Put your hand up. Put your hand up like this. That's the punishment.
See, I thought I was going to mess up. 8's too high of a number. I was like pointing on my finger, trying to count, and I couldn't.
Is that why you're trying to take your...
Dang, Dennis.
Yeah.
Hoorah!
We're going to shoot again, so no,
Good
no
group.
big deal. It happens all...
Before college, I had an Alabama public school education, so I'm good at the stupid stuff.
That's all right.
What optic is that? Is that primary arms?
Yeah, it's their 1X micro prism.
You like it?
My
I love
goal
it.
is at the end of all this is
See, this is what I love about training. You go to class, you see stuff you haven't tried, you talk to the person who's got it, and you're more likely to get an honest response from the owner than you are from the dude standing in front of the camera selling it to you.
Well, I went from an EOTech to Holliston's open, it looks like a giant pistol optic, and I was looking for something that works really nice with my astigmatism, and this,
I had LASIK surgery to fix that.
I'm cross-eye dominant and I have astigmatism. This has got a horseshoe and a little chevron. It's completely idiot-proof. Love it.
I'm 100 yard zero, so I'm always going to be a little bit low at 50. But the group is good.
Well, I was trying to help. Big deal. So we'll shoot one more group unless you choose not to. If you got a good zero and you're happy with it, that's fine. You can step back into the shade, drink some water, relax. Maybe probably one more group will be good to go, and then we'll get on to the next thing. So just a couple points on this. I always do this at the beginning of training to confirm where everybody's at, especially if they're shooting a different zero, so we can talk about that. And I always like to ask them, why did you pick a certain zero? Why'd you pick a certain zero? Most of the time, people can't give you a reason. You know, Army guys, a 25 meter.
Yep.
Because that's what the Army does. Marine Corps, are they still doing a 36 yard, 300 yard?
Yeah, they're doing something around there. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So where I was stationed, they kind of let us do whatever zero we wanted. So we were running EOTechs and stuff. So they kind of just let us do what was comfortable for everybody.
And the Marine Corps is changing their marksmanship program quite a bit.
Yeah, they right as I got out, they started changing it a bunch. It wasn't the whole 500 yard range stuff.
Yep.
Table 1 and 2, they changed it a bunch. So.
Yeah, they absolutely have changed it quite a bit. So at the end of the day, I don't care what zero that y'all run. You run a 25 meter, 300 meter, you can run a 50 yard, 200 yard, you can run a 36 yard, 300 yard, you run a 100 yard zero. You know, the whole point of the zero is when we do that individual threat assessment of ourselves and our lives, and we start to build this system, is we pick a zero that fits within the parameters, so I don't have to worry about different holes. Now, I'm not talking mechanical offset, because that isn't a zero issue. That's a physical difference between the sighting system and where the bullet comes out. But if, say, you know, like for me, you know, and Abner, you notice you've been staying at the house, it's 152 yards from the road to my front door. Okay? It's 200 yards, or 200 meters from my front door to my neighbor's front door. I know that because the sheriff's department's there about once a month, so I just want to be prepared. But I want a zero that I can put my sighting system on the high center chest, apply the fundamentals, and it goes within and stays in the area where the good stuff is. That's how we pick our zeros. Now, I shoot mine, I shoot a 100 yard zero all the time. I shoot it at 2, 3, and 400 with a red dot, no problem. Once we get beyond 2, and the personality of my rifle, point aim, point of impact, at 200 with my 100 yard zero, there's really no difference. There's probably just a little bit, but I don't shoot well enough that I can tell. But when I get out to 3, now I have to start applying, you know, holdovers to get high center chest hits. And that's important when I'm out here teaching. But the reality is where are we gonna, you know, what's the distance that we might engage somebody as an armed citizen? Can I justify somebody at the end of the driveway at 152 yards that they're actually a threat and employ the rifle, especially when I step outside my house, because we're under that means, intent, and ability, and Castle Doctrine does not cover us anymore.
Bless you.
Bless you. So, well, we pick a zero that fits into the parameters of our system, so we can put the sighting system where we want. We know the bullet's going to be within, you know, a fudge factor area, whatever it is. In this case, a 50 yard zero. If you go by the articles and ballistic computers in that, you should have no more rise than about 2 1/4, 2.5 inches. I talked to a couple of y'all about pinning the trigger to the rear and letting the gun do its 8 cycles of function, because in an AR platform there's 8 cycles of function that have to happen as the bullet's traveling down the barrel. Okay? Even though it seems like it happens instantaneously, it takes time for that bullet to exit the muzzle. So if we do anything to disturb that sight alignment, because all the sighting system is just a visual reference of where our muzzle is. And then we pick our zero so it falls within that parameters. But if we can pin the trigger to the rear and not fly off it, that's one more thing that we can do to not misalign the sights, to give that bullet enough time to travel out the end of the barrel. Now we're doing it in a controlled environment, zeroing or shooting groups, or we have distance. Okay? The follow through is still the same, but we're just being more deliberate when we're zeroing and pinning it to the rear. When we come up close, the resetting of the trigger, what I teach is keep in contact with the trigger, come all the way out to its length of travel. As the gun's coming back down, I take the slack out of it, and then I'm verifying my sights and seeing if the bullet's going to go where I want it to, but also seeing has the situation changed, because it might have. As we shot and it's going through its cycle, they might have decided that, hey, they don't want to mess with us anymore. We've ballistically altered their behavioral pattern. Okay, so it's the same follow through, though. We just do it at a more rapid rate up here. When we're 25 yards and in, we're going to be shooting to the craniocular vault on these targets here. I don't pay attention to this triangle here, because this is the skinniest dude on the planet. Okay, but what I look for when I come down and I do group analysis on y'all is where's your shot placement and are they fight stopping hits? Okay, so I don't pay attention to the scoring rings unless we're doing something very specific where we need a scoring. Okay, like the FBI call for pistol. So 25 and in, we're going to be shooting for the head. we apply that appropriate holdover.
You're most welcome.
Okay? So we get the bolt to go where we need it to go. We're going to shoot 3 rounds each iteration, and then once we get back beyond 25, we're going to integrate in speed knee and another position, or the other positions as we go back, so you get familiar with those and build them into your drill that we did before. We're going to shoot 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 25, 30, 40, and 50.
You're going to be standing offhand each one?
20 out to 25, yeah. And I'll tell you exactly what position and where you're aiming for and the prescribed number before I give a threat command. And you guys will get a threat command. That means go. All right. 3 rounds in the cranial ocular vault, assess and scan. Threat. Is failure to seat the magazine. Okay. In my opinion, that is a improper loading sequence, because if we have too many rounds in our magazine, okay, and it won't allow the magazine catch to grab with the bolt forward, but we should be inserting and tugging. So like I take the magazine and I feel with my finger which side the round is on, I insert and tug, I run the bolt, I drop the magazine out, I check to see if it's changed sides, if the only physical place the round could be is in the chamber, okay? And then I insert and tug again. If we do that and it stays inside the magazine well when I tug, okay, I don't have to worry about it, but I don't change my default response. Unlike some other folks that are out there, they're like, well, I've been shooting and so I know that, and it's a bad round, so I just rack the slide. Well, you can do that in a controlled environment. I'm gonna slap up on the magazine, try and run the bolt, and then when it feels wonky, okay, technical term, feels wonky, now I gotta go into a more complex malfunction. So we strip the magazine out, okay? He was trying to pull it back and it's not coming back. So we can mortar and try and beat this on the ground, but I don't want to do that quite yet, because especially with these plastic stocks, even when we collapse them, we can break something and we don't want to do that. So I put a magazine here so I'm not sticking it in the dirt. I'm going to put this into my chest so I can use both of my hands, and lean down on it and clear that round out of the chamber. Insert and tug, run it, flip your safety back on, assess your situation. Obviously, when we have a complex malfunction, we should be applying movement and getting to a piece of cover if it's available. If not, get the hell out of there. There's nothing to say that we can't decisively disengage and leave, especially when we have something like this. Now, if we have a pistol and we're within our capabilities, we can transition to that. If we're in close proximity, this might be the time to close with and destroy the enemy, thanks Marines, and beat them with the club that we have, because it's going to take me too much time to fix it twice. 3 rounds to the head, assess and scan, and grip. I think this would be a good time. Get them up in your workspace, do a proactive reload. Get them in your workspace, do a proactive reload. All right, 3 rounds in the head, assess and scan. Threat. All right, 3 rounds to the head, 3 rounds to the head. Threat. Looking good, Abner. Looking real good, man.
It's like I've done this a time
I
or
was
two.
just gonna say, like you've done this.
That's very satisfying to see.
Same way, dude. One of these, the exact same thing. I was going to travel up, and I just set it as soon as I had it. As soon as I felt I had it. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Alright, everybody, face your target. This is going to be the speed knee. So going from standing, dropping down into the speed knee, we're going to the chest. 3 rounds in the chest from a speed knee. Assess and scan, and then make your way to your feet. Correct. Everybody control with your master grip. Make sure you're on safe. Watch your muzzle. Space about. Scan and then make your way to your feet. Correct. All right, and threat. Good, man. Way to work through it. Way to work through it.
Good fight. I got that whole thing, dude. It was just perfectly timed. Yeah, that was a good fight.
I had a flyer, but it's still a keeper. It's in the spinal cord.
Yep, I take that all day long.
Yep.
Yeah, looking good, Ab.
Thank you, sir.
I was just telling him, guys, I hate relying on it.
They're all technical stuff.
Good, man.
I like
Yeah.
having it, I hate relying on it. Right? When you're in any shooting position,
Way to work through that problem.
yeah, I wasn't even expecting to like so simple. I was like, oh, man, I know it's speedy. It's tough about this. How well the rounds are. You have to drop down, you have to get those shots.
You work
But the second I
It's
have
just
to relax a
working
little
through a
bit, I'm
problem.
going to
It
sit
just
on this
happens to
foot.
be with a firearm.
Yeah, so that I'm more relaxed. I'm going to lay down on this knee, and I'm going to take all my muscle out of it. I'm just going to sit here and do this when I can behind cover.
So,
If I have to transition to my next step, I'll sit down
so
on
my
this
workspace
foot.
is where we get
Because from
around
here,
the walls.
what can I still do that I
What
can't
that
do if I
does,
take
like
this
our
foot
head's
out?
attached to the gun. And if
I can get right back up. The second you do this
work
number,
down here, look where my head goes. It's like
now
that.
I'm fighting from here
Nothing
without
bad
having to
happens down
do
there until I
something
put it on the
drastic
ground,
to
and
get
then
back
maybe I
up.
gotta
So that's why I like
continue
sitting on
to
my foot.
Or
That's
give verbal
completely
command with
a,
that, but I want to keep my head up.
completely a flexibility thing, completely a comfort thing. But that's why I like to train to that, so I can just sit back down, hop back up, keep mobile.
Yes, sir. Makes sense.
But either way, if one thing you can take away from all the stuff that Shane says, or I may say, is just find what's comfortable for you, because everybody's different, and your comfort level, you need to find your own in whatever position you're in. The more comfortable you are, the better you'll shoot from that position.
Check the chamber, the bolt face, and the magazine well. Everything is good there. I can let that bolt go forward. Okay, and I'm going to start off with the high ready. While we're doing this, to solidify that natural point of aim, we can check that too, and then lock your feet in. And I know, people tell me, well, you say that a gunfight is a dynamic endeavor. Okay, how am I going to check natural point of aim in the middle of a gunfight? Well, you're not. But in a controlled environment, if we check that natural point of aim, look down and see where my feet are, and lock them in and get that mental snapshot of where they're at, we're more intuitively going to get into natural point of aim as I get dynamic and I go to plant my feet. Okay, and it's going to set us up for success. So I'm here, okay, I've got my eyes locked where I want my sight bullet to go. I'm going to drive it out high ready. It's going to come back in. I fire my holdover, smoothly press the trigger to the rear, roll my finger in. Okay, little bit of visualization. I visualize a cycle of function, cycle of recoil, finger comes out. Now, you're going to hear me say administrative action because I got to recock the gun. Okay, I want to say that to tell my brain that I'm out of my combat bubble. I'm doing something different. Resetting the gun as I punch myself in the face. I hope you got that on video. Reset the safety. I get back into my bubble, and now I'm not creating a bad pathway by doing a lot of dry fire and resetting, because if we build that pathway and strengthen it, and I don't do something different, like say administrative action, and we go out and shoot for our life, we might go bang and start trying to run the action, and then we're jumping rounds on the ground. So go into that low ready. I'm here as I snap it up. Safety comes off. I acquire my holdover. Smoothly press the trigger to the rear. Bang. We can do our assess and scans if we want in our software, just to solidify that pathway and that routine. Now I got to set it again, so administrative action, safety goes back on, and now I'm going to go into that over-the-shoulder roll. Again, I got my eyes locked where I want my sight and bullet to go. I'm going to collapse it down, drive the gun out, safety comes off as it comes into my shoulder. I apply that holdover, roll my finger in, smoothly press the trigger to the rear. I can assess and scan. And then administrative action, I can reset it, safety can go back on, and in this instance, I'm going to grab a magazine and I'm going to go through my loading sequence. So I'm going to insert and tug. Okay, now I got to run the action, so I swim out of my sling, run it, Okay, I just happen to look. Most of the time I check with my finger. I see what side the round is on. Cycle the gun, check to see it's on the other side. I know that the round went in there. Insert and tug again, swing back into my sling, and then just pick a ready. I'm going to pick a ready position of choice. So in this case, I'm in over the shoulder roll, so we'll go with that. Everybody takes that obligatory when they load up, because now it's going to go bang. That's cool. I know what you're fixing to do. Okay, but nothing changes as I'm doing this. So I got my eyes locked where I want the sight and the bullet to go. I'm going to drive the gun on. I'm going to clear my clothing. Safety goes out. As I bring the sight into my line of vision, I'm going to find my hold, smoothly press to the rear. I'm going to assess and scan. Okay, that's an acceptable shot. I'm good. And then we can go into our unloading sequence. Unload that, stow that magazine somewhere, lock the slide to the rear, just let that fall on the ground. Okay, we can do our 3-point checks. Okay, and then let your bolt go forward, swing back in the sling, and go back into the next part of the evolution. Right, once you're centered up, and everybody can go ahead and begin the 5-in-1 drill times 3, or the puppy belly 5-in-1 drill times 3. Go ahead and begin.
Admin function. Admin function. Admin function. Admin function.
Good, don't forget your scans, Abner. Good, every time you press the trigger, the gun goes through the cycle of function and the recoil comes down. I'm assessing my work for my sight again. Don't forget your scans.
Yep. Yeah, I was doing that. I fucking forgot my scans.
That's okay. That's why we're here. You get the crayon,
Shoulder.
something like that, but that's the biggest penalty here.
Admin function. Admin function. Admin function. Admin function. Admin function.
Yourself a nanosecond, slow down, apply that nice precise shot. It looked beautiful. Oh, leave that right where it is. We're using it. Yep, just pull back right here. So my default is I roll it inboard, I tap up on the magazine, I attempt to pull the charging handle to the rear. Okay. If you have a complex malfunction, this is probably when you're going to figure it out, when you go to pull the bolt to the rear. Okay. If it lets you go, we'll get a mush trigger as opposed to a click. Is everybody tracking with that so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this is where things get a little bit different, and you guys in the pre-reading should have got an article that was written by a guy named Chris Fry. Chris has got a place up in New York. He's part of the Shivworks collection, but he teaches this particular complex malfunction clearance at Progressive Force out in Nevada. So Mike Hart and those guys. So I do my default. I tap up on the magazine, I try and rack it to the rear. Now I know it's a complex malfunction. Okay, get off the X. We need to apply tactics and movement, hopefully get to a piece of cover or at least create distance. What I'm going to do, depending on my sling setup, I'm going to get it to the point that I can swap shoulders. Okay, now I can see what's going on. You lefties are set up, you can see it already. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is remove the source of feed and either discard it or stick it somewhere, because this might be the only thing that I got. Now magazines are the major cause of, especially these, because the lips start to push out. So I can discard it or what have you. Now I've got control of it and I got to use both of my hands. I'm going to come back to here so I can see what's going on. I'm going to pull that back, I'm going to stick my finger in. Now that I've seen that it's fallen free, let it go forward, transfer it back over, get it into my workspace, insert and tug, run it, and drive the gun out. Now assess, did the situation change while I was doing that particular act or event? Okay? Because it might have. If, you know, we got to shoot apply the fundamentals. Bangity bangity bang, session work through your sights, let it go through cycle function, cycle recoil. I'm ready to shoot again. I don't need to give that person any more love, and now I can do my scans. So, still a time-consuming thing, but when we can visually process what's going on, or a diagnostic approach to a complex malfunction, with a little bit of practice, we can make it really, really fast, as opposed to the ways that they teach in the military, which is keep it here, rip the magazine out, rack, look at it a little bit, insert, you know, it just takes a lot of time. It's a lot of motion that doesn't need to be thinking about the context and how we're applying the lessons out here. So we did the puppy belly drill 5 and 1 with the rifle with the ready positions for a reason, because, you know, the ready position, we can't go around pointing the guns at everybody until we identify that they're a threat. So we have these ready positions to avert the muzzle, so that I can identify, process information, critically think, and problem solve. Okay? But what happens if I'm in my house, which is probably the context which most of you will employ a rifle, will be inside a structure somewhere, so you've decided to, you know, utilize it as part of your system. Now, everybody's a little bit different. I know you got property and stuff, but, you know, primarily we're going to use it within a structure. As I'm moving around, like I was saying, if we didn't talk about this, it's a great segue into it. As we're moving around, having that ready position, what happens if we come up and we end up in close proximity? You know, I come around a corner and now Abner's right here. I can't traditionally bring the rifle up, because what's he going to do? Yep, he's going to grab onto the barrel, whether he's been trained or not. It's just an innate ability that, hey, somebody's trying to harm me, even though they were there to maybe do us harm. They're going to grab at it. So once they go to grab at that gun, whether it's a rifle, pistol, shotgun, whatever the case may be, now there's lethal intent, because they're there, they're trying to take it from you. Then at least we can articulate that in court.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yep, Kyle Rittenhouse, prime example. Okay. We can articulate that in court, and it's known throughout that if somebody tries to go for your gun, okay, there's lethal intent there. That is your justification, means, intent, and ability. So we need to be able to shoot from those close retention positions if somebody comes out and grabs at them. Now, I'm going to put one caveat to this portion of training, and Scott and I have talked about working with it, because especially when we get into this close proximity range, okay, we've got to pressure test it. And so next week sometime, I'm probably going to take the Unit 4 Airsoft, that high-end Airsoft that I've been toting around and doing videos on, and Scott's going to come over once he gets all the techniques down, and I will be the bad person who's going to end up ultimately getting shot. And I'm going to come and grab the barrel in these different positions and see if he can affect the techniques that we're going to teach out here and get hit somewhere to then create space to be able to drive the gun up into our shoulder in a more traditional method. It ain't going to be that crazy, man. You ain't got to limber up yet.
I need to stretch.
I'm just kidding, Dennis.
I know you're giving me shit.
I know. I'm just kidding. So caveat to that, I haven't tested these under stress with a live role player. That will happen very soon. Everything else I know actually works, and I know that these will work because I've done them dry and live. But I want that extra little bit of confidence that, hey, if somebody grabs it from the side, from the front, or whatever, you can apply the techniques, get the muzzle oriented somewhere on their body, shoot them off of your gun, and then create space if where we're at allows us to do it, to get it in the shoulder and continue and finish that fight or give verbal commands, whatever the case may be. So with that, the first one that we're going to do, there's a historic approach to this, okay? So like I said in the first class, nothing that we are doing out here is something that I invented. The application of these ready positions with this close proximity, I think, is somewhat unique because I don't know anybody that's really doing it. But aside from that, the techniques in it, they were invented 100 years ago. So this first one, we're going to walk back because I want to reference a couple books that I brought out. Okay, and one of them is Chuck Taylor. Under the arm, close proximity position is Chuck Taylor. Now the book that he has back there, and I have two of them. I have his battle rifle book. Stay with me.
You're right, that sandbag.
We'll fix it. Yeah, we'll fix it when we come back up. He's got it in his battle rifle book, and he also has it in his subgun book, the position that the first position that you guys are going to shoot. Okay, that book was written originally. It was written in 1974. Okay, so that's older than a lot of you that are out here. Some of us not so much, but he didn't come up with it on his own.
2 years old.
The next book we're going to reference is Colonel Rex Applegate's Kill or Be Killed. That was published in 1942, and it's the exact same technique. It's the exact same technique. So just because it's old doesn't mean it's applicable. We have to understand how to apply it in context. We have to apply it in context. So a lot of people don't realize how to do that. They say, oh, that stuff was done for World War II. That's not applicable today because we got all this cool stuff at high speed. Well, it is. There's a lot of it that is. There's a lot of it that isn't. And we got to be able to discard that, but we got to understand how we utilize it in context. Notice he's got it tucked up underneath his arm, pinning it in that position of strength.
Yep.
And that's his close retention position. So think about application in a house. If I'm coming down to a corner, or I got to go into a room, or I have to be able to, like Trevor was saying, to go ahead and utilize a hand, I can come underneath. Now with this particular technique, muzzle is oriented towards the threat or the perceived threat. So we have to, again, understand it in context and know that, hey, I'm trying to get to a place, because I don't advocate going hunting in your house unless you have to. Stay bunkered up, let them come to you, unless the kids or somebody that's there is somewhere else, and you need to get between the threat and the people that you care about. So we have to do singleton arm movement in our house. Scott, new name, singleton arm movement, Sam, or if it's singleton arm movement or with partner, spam. Okay, but you can look in his combat shotgun and subgun, and he's got the same position in here, and the shotgun is also the same. That pinned under the arm close retention position, and there's some nuances to it that we'll talk about here in a little when we get up on the line. But again, stuff's been around for a while. We just got to learn how to apply it. And then we go to the original source. And if we could go even farther back, I'm sure that Rex Applegate got it from somebody also. But if you look at this book, like I said, came out in 1942 originally for the OSS. Same position, is it not? That they were teaching those guys in World War II. Close retention position with the subgun, Rex Applegate, 1942. So here's some of the historical references to it so you understand where it's come from. Thank you, Abner. What we're doing and how we're applying it. We're just going to add context to it. And then we're going to do the same thing with high ready and over the shoulder roll. Low ready does not work itself very well to a close confined fight. It's fatiguing. The gun is out there. It's too hard to get the muzzle oriented, in my opinion, if somebody grabs a hold of it. That's why we give you options with these different ready positions, because they're applicable in different circumstances. Threat is, or a perceived threat, and we're pretty sure there's no friendlies there, so my muzzle's going to be oriented where I'm going or where I think that threat is. Okay. It's going to be high up in my armpit. Okay. For me, I point my finger. Okay, that's just the way I shoot. Benny Cooley taught me to shoot it. I have my finger up along the handguard of the gun, of the rifle. Okay, but that helps as a pointer. Now, it's somewhat intuitive, but pointing is a learned skill. It's something that you learn when you're an infant. And what you're going to see with technique on this is you might be off a little bit, but once you have an experiential base for what you're doing, it's going to center up where your muzzle is going. Now with this isn't point shooting or unsighted fire, because I still have a visual reference of where the rifle is. I'm just using my periphery instead of right in my main focal area. Okay. So it's up underneath my arm. Now with this leg, and it'll help recoil, I'm going to lock this leg and turn my hips, bringing the gun in. If I have adjustment on my sling, okay, I can tighten that down. That's added stability. But even from this distance, because I'm utilizing this because I can't go to here, okay? If I'm outside of arm's length, I can bring the gun actually up. So we would be doing this here, and maybe I'm coming in and opening a door or coming up to a corner, okay? So I'm in relative close proximity, okay? So I'm here, I tie up in the arm, and I'm gonna lock that knee, okay, and turn my hips, which now everybody look at where that muzzle orientation is. Okay? I can get my shots, and then I can create space if the environment allows me to do it. Okay? If we're in our home, we might not be able to, but I can either go backwards. It's one of the rare instances where I'll advocate going back in a controlled manner, or I slide my feet and shoot all the way through extension, and now I can bring the gun into my line of vision and hit that conventional sighting system that I have. I could be here, and maybe I have to go off to an angle. So same thing, I can be shooting, I can start to step in a controlled manner, create that space, and drive the gun. And go the other way if I need to. So is everybody tracking with that so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Like I said, key points on this is get it high up in the armpit, because the lower we go towards our hip, we start to lose muzzle orientation. Okay. I want to have that peripheral visual reference of the muzzle down here as I'm looking where I want the bullet to go, and I'm staying target focused or threat focused. Okay. Then we want to create space. Any questions on that?
So what you're saying is that if we're on our home and we should tuck it up here all the time?
Well,
or
it's going to be one of the three different positions I'm showing you. This is just the first one.
Okay.
So situation dictates how we orient the rifle. Does that make sense? In our home. So this is just one option, guys. Just one option. So I'm within that arm's length where they could grab the barrel if I traditionally drive the gun out and mount it on my shoulder. Okay, and I don't want to do that. I want to collapse it in, because what it's allowing me to do in this case is shorten up the rifle by just body mechanics. As I lock this leg and turn the hip in, now I'm getting my body weight here into it. Okay, we can see where the muzzle's oriented. When I determine that they're a threat, safety off. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect, but are they center line?
Yes, sir.
Yep. They're in there. So then I can create space off of this. Okay, so there's more to it depending on the situation. We're going to start off and having everybody stationary initially, because the more you do this, the more we start seeing that we start orienting the rounds to where they need to be, because we get that learning with pointing our finger. Okay. Now I'm going to do it with just backing up. And what I want you to watch though is I create space. Situation is dictated that I want to back up. I do it in a controlled manner. I'm going to shoot all the way through extension. Okay, I'm going to shoot all the way through extension. So I'm here. Everybody's still covered up. I'm locked in. I lock that knee. So I get those shots, and I assess and scan. Okay, a couple of them were a little bit off. Okay, a couple of them were a little bit off, but hey, this is one thing that you got to learn. You always got to caveat when you go to start and say the road to hell is paved by instructor demos.
Oh yeah.
Because when you screw something up, but this is so different that, thanks Scott Jedelinsky. Okay. But this is so different that it takes a little bit of training and experiential base to get it. And remember, again, I'm doing this within arm's length, so I'm closer. I'm stretching it out so I don't blow the target up. Okay. But as I come up to extension, I'm bringing the gun more into my line of vision. I'm getting a more traditional sight alignment method as we go. Good. And you can look and see where the muzzle's oriented. You see it in your peripheral vision. Good. Britney brings down just a titch.
This is going to get exciting. You're going to go right into my chest.
Oh yeah, left-handed. Not meant for you.
No. And if I go like this, it's even worse.
Oh yeah, right in the face.
I could go like that. That would work.
Yeah.
But that makes more sense for control.
Yeah.
Because this flares my arm out. Things are about to get exciting. By the way, Dwelling, you look absolutely fabulous. I love your look.
I like how we match, kind of. I didn't do black today. I was like, my feet are burning.
She's known as the range ninja.
And 3 rounds into the chest. Correct. All right, we're gonna do it one more time and then we're gonna apply that backward movement. Okay, so go ahead and orient your muzzles, get it locked in with your arms, lock that knee, turn your hips into it, and 3 rounds. Correct. Okay, however many rounds it takes to get you up to extension is however many rounds it takes. Here we go. Correct. Assess it.
Focus on the ones that are hard. The ones that are easy to do, focus on the ones that are hard, so they become part of your repertoire. If you don't have it, it won't be natural to you, and you won't be. It's a dance.
Yep, it's it.
Self-defense, CQB, all of it's a dance. It's a fluid dance where you can get your mind bullets into whatever point of action you have. Pistol, rifle, knife, you name it. It's a dance.
That's a great way to put it. That's a choreographed dance. That's all the fighting is. It's all fighting. With that, so anybody got any questions on that particular technique?
No, sir. Fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it is
Next
fun.
one I want to go over, and this one we have to do in a very controlled manner here, because we have to keep the rounds in the backstop. Okay, we have to keep the rounds in the backstop. So there's a couple different ways of application for the high ready on this. Okay, so I started thinking about it. You know, last class I taught this one, muzzle oriented towards the thread of the machine thread, tuck under the arm, Chuck Taylor, you know, Rex applicate, whatever you want to call it, that close proximity position. But I started thinking about, okay, you know, practical application, depending on the situation, I can't walk around flagging everybody in my house, or where people are at in the house. If I get startled and have a sympathetic reaction and the gun goes off with the muzzle oriented, is it going to go through a wall and hit one of my loved ones? So again, we have to have other options, and the ready positions, in my opinion, are a perfect way to do it, because we use them anyway to avert the muzzle. So I started diagnosing and trying to figure out a way, how can I apply these in for close proximity shooting? So with that high ready, it's my normal high ready. Just like Trevor was saying, whether I'm here or I'm here, I had the ability to use this hand to open doors or maybe push somebody out of the way, and I still have control of the rifle with my master grip, muzzle oriented towards where that perceived threat might be. But now as I come up, what happens if somebody tries to grab this? They step out and they try to push it up, or they step to the side and try and push it out of the way, or it turns into a fight. Okay, well, I want to orient my muzzle so I can get a shot. One way that we can do it, and we will not do this particular technique, is because I'm already pinned here in a position of strength, I can go, everybody remember speed knee, right? I can utilize that because my body weight is dropping, and it's almost impossible for somebody to hold on to this. Now, as they're above me, where's the muzzle oriented?
Into them.
into them, right? So I said we're not going to shoot this particular one because look at where my muzzle's oriented. Where would the bullets go? Farmer Joe's over there and we killed one of his cows, and I don't want to have to pay for that. Okay, but how can we actually shoot this drill and continue to apply it? So I'm here. Okay, when we get ready to go, I want you to take whatever your strong foot is, and I want you to step back, and I want you to drop your weight, and I want you to pull the gun back into the muzzle orientation towards the threat. It would be the same thing that I would do if I'm dropping my weight, but maybe I can't do that. So as we step back and I pull this into me and the muzzle orients down, okay, I'm overcoming their strength, and it doesn't really matter how strong they are. If I put my body weight behind it and I step back, now I'm pulling that muzzle orientation towards where I can get effective on the person. So I'm here and all of a sudden I'm startled and they go to try and grab the muzzle, or maybe they don't. Okay, but I want to orient it towards them. I'm going to step back, I'm going to come to here, lock it in, and then I can create space. Okay. That muzzle blast, guess what that does?
Peels them off.
Yep, and that creates opportunity for me to create space.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, all good efficient hits as I drop down and get that muzzle orientation into my peripheral vision. Okay, and then I can continue to back up, or I can go off to the left or right, whatever I needed to do. 3 to 4 rounds in the chest, 3 to 4 rounds in the chest, stepping back, orienting your muzzles, and threat. Again, just taking that single step back to be able to orient your muzzle where it needs to be. 3 to 4 rounds. Threat. Back to the short barrel thing, you know, guys would use the excuse of, oh, I need a 10.5-inch barrel because I'm doing vehicle work or inside the house to be able to maneuver around. And my counter argument was always, put the work in and learn how to compress your rifle and extend it in your environment. I could do exactly the same thing with a 10.5-inch barrel gun as I could do with a 20-inch barrel M16A2.
Yeah, you gotta
Yep, and then we add suppressors.
14.5 with a can?
Yep.
No problem.
And so, but it's being able to manipulate your rifles. And so I would rather have more feet per second, a little bit farther reach out, a little bit more kinetic energy transfer. Also thinking, because what they forget in this argument is they're only thinking about on the objective. They're not thinking, hey, the majority of our trip is getting to and getting back to wherever that is, and those distances aren't right here anymore. And so we give up a lot with a 10.5-inch barrel or 11.5-inch barrel ballistically when the fight gets extended. Low ready for me, and I'll call it confrontation ready most of the time because that's the way that I'm using it. Okay? I've shot somebody, you know, and they've gone to the ground. Maybe I've followed them to the ground and I'm giving them verbal commands. So I'm confronting them to try and get them to do what I want. Okay? That might be when I'm in this position, because if we, you know, are working in and around people and I got to compress it even more and orient my muzzle down, what am I going to do? I'm going to over the shoulder roll, right? This is very fatiguing. This is a position of strength. This is a position of strength because I'm collapsed. This I have it mostly at extension, and it gets fatiguing really quick. And it doesn't matter how big and how strong we are, we start to get fatigued, and then that muzzle starts coming down. And especially if I'm in close confinement in the house, then I start running into problems. If a threat presents itself, I have to fight inertia as I'm coming up on that vertical axis straight up, and I might overshoot it. It's not a very defendable position. Okay, there are some options. But they're not shooting solutions. So initially, our rounds on this one are going to be in the pelvic girdle. Okay, that's where we're going to start. And then we're going to stay stationary and then we'll orient our muzzles up. So then we have that visual reference to the hand guard, so I can get more precise shots in the chest. And just know how we would apply this in application is then I'd be creating more distance so I'm outside of their reach. So I'm here and I come around the corner and he goes to grab it. Okay, I'm going to step back, yank, and then I had to stop myself because I always automatically want to create distance. Okay, but as I step back, now look where my muzzle's oriented. All good shots, right? Got their attention. Yeah, I'm a little bit off, but again, I'm using this to get up here to where the good stuff needs to be. by using body mechanics and weight to be able to orient the muzzle to where it needs to be. If I'm in that over-the-shoulder roll or rifle zone, whatever you want to call it, muzzle oriented down to get it online so I can get some hits and then create opportunity for me to do other things. And threat. We're doing this as an attention getter. Okay. You shoot somebody in close proximity with a rifle in the pelvis, you're getting their attention.
You have their attention.
Yep, what you have to do is, I want you to start here on threat, I want you to step back and pull to here, shoot a couple rounds, and then you can just transition up to rolling it more up on their shoulders. Yep, yep. Remember, we're going to be violently ripping it out of your hands to orient that muzzle towards the pelvis. All right, here we go. Everybody ready? Yep. And threat. All right, everybody. Threat. So if we end up on the ground, and we're not going to get into completely if somebody's on top of you, it's just once we get there, how can we get back to our feet? Because that's where we want to be. I teach two different ways because everybody's got different flexibility, mobility issues, physical agility and abilities, okay, some physical limitations. So I have two different ways that I teach getting up. Who in here does jiu-jitsu? Okay, you guys know how to do a technical get up and off of the ground in jiu-jitsu, right? Okay. Works really good there, but why do you do a technical get up in jiu-jitsu?
So you can be poised for whatever they attempt to do to you.
Yep, and when they do it, you're going to end up on the ground again, right? It's planned that way by design. Okay. If I end up on the ground in a weapons-based environment, okay, which all of you here, every time you step out of your house as an armed citizen, you are in a weapons-based environment. You have the weapon. They might also have weapons. If we end up on the ground, I want to get back to my feet and not end up back on the ground. Because with threats, unfortunately, it's just not mano-a-mano anymore. One person against, one bad guy or bad girl against you. They've got friends. And so as I'm dealing with the guy that's encroaching on me or gal that's encroaching on me and I'm trying to deal with them, if I'm on the ground moving around, which would be advantageous in jiu-jitsu, they're getting my head through the field goal post, and that's a bad day for me. So I want to get upright and keep consciousness as much as possible. So the first way that I'm going to show you guys is traditionally how we teach it. Okay, traditionally how we've taught it, and if it works for you, if this is what you have to do, that's great. That's great. My gun I cleared my gun out. I'll show a couple of you here.
Clear.
Just so if I end up here. Okay, like I said, this is a bad place to be.
Especially if you're a lefty.
Especially if you're a lefty. Yep, you're absolutely right. But I got here for a reason. Somebody was encroaching on me. I tripped and fell. They're still doing what they're doing. So, like I said, this isn't a ground fighting class, but I would use my feet and hit them in the shins and the knees and try and create space in order for me to employ this. Okay, for the part of this exercise, either your feet are here planted, okay, or they're down. Just because we don't want to leave a toe on the range today. That's not a good thing. So again, employing that isometric tension, I'm going to, push, pull on the gun. Like I said, I got here for a reason. Maybe I was fearful and I was backing up and I tripped over something. I got somebody encroaching on me. I'd be using my feet to keep them away. Okay. In this instance, we're going to keep them here. I'm going to stretch the gun, find my sight. Notice it's not even in the pocket of my shoulder, and I'm going to put a couple rounds into the pelvis. Okay, not too bad of shots. Would that get their attention and allow me to get to here? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now I'm here. I'll put a couple more in. Okay, safe back on. I'm going to work my way to my feet, putting it under in a position of strength. I'm going to roll my foot under, fight from this position. Okay. And then I can stand up, and again, if I need to, I can bring this underneath my arm, position of strength, bring my support hand under, stand up, and now I can assess my situation. If I still need to fight, I just apply those fundamentals. Okay, assess its scan. Okay. Now I'm going to do the other one. Now I'm not going to engage in all these positions because of the way that I'm getting up.
That's right.
All right, here we go, everybody. Here we go. Fight your way to your feet and threat. Here we go, everybody. Here we go. Fight your way to your feet and threat. There you go, Marine. Work through the problem. Just work through the problem. There you go. Good. You got enough muscle to do it. Get it back up and running. Assess your situation. Completely forgot the block of instruction I talked about. The complex malfunctions. All right, go ahead and just relax. Threat. Ground up to your feet.
Feels just like it does when you do pistol.
Commonality. That's my, just about everything I do is pretty the same across the board. So the one thing that I do have, and I was walking up and down the line and telling people is, I do highly encourage that when you're practicing these techniques, whichever one you decide to do, or you unfortunately find yourself on your back and you have to fight your way up, is we're in a controlled environment here, and I know a large majority of the class has the core strength, flexibility, mobility to get up without using their hands. Okay, we can do that here, but and Reese, I'm going to use you as an example because you're a stud, man. How old are you? So
Remember 23?
yeah, I have more years in the military than you've been on the earth.
Yep.
Okay?
Sup, I've been married longer than you've been alive.
Yeah, but you're a stud.
Socks that are older than
You're a
That's
stud.
true.
And you can get up. I know that you can, but think about it in context. When we're in that adrenalized state, so we got to practice and solidify the ways that we're going to do things, because we don't rise to the occasion. We default to our highest level of training mastered. And
Say that again, looking this way.
so
I want to make sure that gets picked up.
Yep. So we don't rise to the occasion. We default to the highest level of training that we have mastered to a level of automaticity, meaning that we don't have to think about it. Our subconscious mind takes over, allowing our conscious brain to process and critically think and problem solve new information that's coming in, which is very critical in a gunfight. All right, so I'm going to do a 1 second split on this. 1 second split. So it should be 1,000 bang, 2,000 bang, 3,000 bang, etc. Okay. So we're here. Bring it up. So on and so forth. I can assess and scan. Okay. So pretty nice and consistent. Okay. I was making sure every time that my red dot was in an acceptable target area, I applied a holdover just because I wanted to. Okay. Before I made the gun go bang. Okay. I turn my sight up because I can barely see it. Now we're going to cut it in half. We're going to do a half second. So it should be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And we want that consistency across the board. But again, making sure that the sighting system's in that acceptable target area. Here and threat. Assess and scan. Okay. So again, pretty consistent across the board. But again, I'm verifying that the front or the red dot is in there. And now that I'm starting to speed up, I'm also putting a little bit of isometric tension to the front and pulling back, trying to stretch the gun. That's going to come into play here now when I do a quarter second, which should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and scanned. It opened up just a little bit, but those are still acceptable. I'd be okay. And it was pretty consistent across the board, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Tempo, consistent.
Yeah. So, but like I said, the whole point of what we're doing here is training our eyes to see that sight and acceptable target area so I can do this quicker. All right, here we go. Threat. Good assessment.
Lord have mercy, your muzzle device is loud.
Back.
Mine?
Get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it blows.
Wow.
So that one's relatively
I can
easy.
scoot
That
up.
one's relatively easy. Now we're gonna go a half second. Half second. So it should be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Ensuring our sighting system is in an acceptable target area before we make it go bang. And here we go. Threat.
Oh.
Are you getting TBI?
Ah.
You want some foamies?
Ah.
Okay, yeah, we'll keep that back.
Step forward of me.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna do a half second one more time.
I'm gonna be like this.
One more time.
You're gonna have to lift.
1
You're gonna
and
have to
2
like scrape
and 3
them
and
now.
4 and 5. Everybody ready? Yep. And threat. All right, here's the big one. Okay. Quarter second split. Should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm gonna wait till she's done.
If you need to do a proactive reload, go ahead and do so at this time. Make sure our guns are topped off.
I'm gonna hide behind Britney till she's done.
Excellent. Yes. Remember, stretch.
You know what? Get a video of her shooting with me hiding.
Will help you control. Go. Quarter second split. Ensure your sighting system's in an acceptable target area before it make it go bang. Here we go. Threat.
America!
Test and scan. And here we go. Threat.
Bro, I love this war comp. Oh! Ew!
So how many people, when we went to quarter second, stretched that gun? Did it help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, it absolutely
I
helped.
tried. It's a mental thing I gotta
Yeah.
work on.
Yep. Yeah, it's something completely different that a lot of people don't teach. And actually, Abner, you had said that was something new that you had learned last week. And again, I thought about it after you had left and that, and I wanted to actually give credit where it came from. Steve Wynn actually taught me that. So it was somebody else, but yeah, it really works. But it's something that's so different. We got to work it into our routine and know when to apply that muscular contraction and relaxation. Seeing the sight in acceptable target area, so I can do this quicker, or faster. So apply the things that we've been doing with this. So I'm here. You're going to be covered straight down in front of the target. I'm just going to set up kind of in the center here. It can be whatever ready position you want. I'm going to go for a high ready. I'm going to do anywhere from 2 to 4 rounds in each one. Okay, transition over, visualize, and I get in the desired effect. So I'm here, threat, okay. Now I see it, and now safety doesn't have to go on because I don't break cheek weld, it's just habit, but I'm shipped in my head and eyes, driving the gun. Okay. Assess and scan both of those. Scan the rest of my world. Okay. And now back the other way, and I won't be so severe with my head movement. So I'm here, threat. Assess and scan. Anywhere from 2 to 5 rounds. 2 to 5 rounds on each target. Assess and scan. Threat. Good, now we're going to go back the other way. Back the other way. Same thing. 2 to 5 rounds. Each target, assess and scan. Threat. Be a good time. Get them up in your workspace. Do a proactive reload. Just practice, do a proactive reload. Bought that partially expended magazine with a full one, insert in tug, still that other magazine somewhere. All right, one more time, and then we'll go on to the other one. Same drill, and threat. Okay, so I'm here, I decide that 9 is my biggest threat, so I'm threat, I find my sight. Now I shift my head and eyes, now I'm breaking my cheek weld so my safety goes back on. I'm gonna roll it up, shift my hips in the direction of travel and drive this straight into my line of vision. Assess and scan. And it'd be the same if I come back the other way. So I'm here, threat, find my sight. Okay, put that safety on, I'm shifting my head and eyes, drive the gun. Okay, find your sight. Okay, assess and scan. No more threat. And then I could do that proactive reload if I want to keep the gun up and running. All right, anywhere from 2 to 5 rounds, 2 to 5 rounds. Threat. Good.
Forgot my safety.
That's okay. That's why we're here. We're here to figure that stuff out. All right, now back left to right. Same thing. Threat.
And then if you guys
Good. Assess and scan.
Yes, sir.
All right, and threat. Okay. Good. Think about that angle and where your sights are, because you're kind of at an angle now. Think about that when you put your sights on the target, okay?
1 then 4, or
All right, now back the other way, same exact drill.
it is naturally going to
Threat.
get harder to transition to your dominant side.
Good.
That's why
Good.
it's
Assess
gonna
and
be so huge for you
scan.
to take your shots. Like I'm righty, so that
Excellent. And yep, so go ahead and top off. Once it's in a condition you're happy with, go ahead and let it hang control with your master grip and step to the back. All 5 rounds there. If you need to, you can take a lateral step, but we have to downshift in our speed, and we're going to put one precise shot in the head from, this is about 25. It's about 25. So there shouldn't be really much application of a holdover or anything. Should be, you know, point A, point impact, pretty much. Okay, but big takeaway on this one is very few people can shoot this close target at the speed that they shoot it and transition at the same speed and shoot the farther one. So we got to downshift a couple gears, slow up, make sure we apply the fundamentals of marksmanship, ensure our sighting system was within that acceptable target area, smoothly roll our finger on the trigger to make one precise shot to the head. Okay, so it's a good, learn how to throttle up and throttle down, and like I said, if, you know, you got a range, you want to practice this, you can change and add complexity to it. You have multi-targets here, one, you know, farther, you can have a couple targets there, you can start far and come near. Okay? Although it is a lot harder going from fast to slowing down, then it's quite a bit easier going slow and then speeding up when it's close. Okay? So we're going to do it the one that's a little bit harder here, and we're going to do 5 shots here. And when you come up here, and I'm looking where everything is at here, so now I've got a lane, my rounds are going to go probably about where that other cone is. Okay, but I'm not going to hit the redneck mover, I'm not going to hit the other stand, so I'm having awareness of what's out there. So we're doing it for safety wise and so we don't tear up my stuff, but everything is a training opportunity. Okay, so whatever ready position that you want, 5 rounds in this, transition 1 round to the head, a near far drill. So I'm here, I'm going to stretch the gun. Assess and scan. I called where it was at. I think I'm probably about the right eye as you look at it. Okay.
Yes.
That's where it is. Okay. So one of the things that I did there, and one of the things that we can practice with this also, is every time we press the trigger and we make the gun go bang, we should be taking a mental snapshot of where our sighting system is in relationship to where I wanted the bullet to go. Calling our shot. We do it in the sniper world all the time. It's just as applicable to rifles, carbines, pistols, shotguns, all that. So it's a learned skill, but as the gun went bang, I saw where my red dot was. I know I got a good 0, and it was right over the right eye as we're looking at it here. Left eye if it's a person or you're medical. So my shots here, did they get a little bit wild? Yeah, but is this still acceptable? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'll take that all day long. Okay, so that generates the speed that we need to get good hits, and then we're doing that speed modulation up and down to get that precise shot down farther. Okay, I've seen a whole bunch of people shoot this. I've run them through, and you will fail. I've only ever had one guy that shot as fast here, transition and shot as fast there, was actually successful, and he was lucky because I said, once is luck, twice is skill. Let's see if you can do it again, and he couldn't. So remember, take that proverbial breath, that nanosecond breath, tactical patience, let your sights fall in there, stretch the gun, get a good shot into the head. Threat. Okay, assess and scan, call your shot. Where was it?
Left eye.
Left eye, okay. We know that you can't count to 5 because you only shot 4, so go ahead, step off the line there, Junior.
Too many fingers.
All right, let me know when you're ready, Eric.
Ready, sir.
You good? Okay. Threat.
Okay. Miss.
Yep.
Yep.
And threat. That's okay, just work through it, take a breath, find your sights, roll your finger on the... Good, call your shot.
Think on the right eye.
Okay, you're up a little bit high on the left up there. I can see it in the forehead. Go ahead and give me one good precise shot right between the eyes. Finger on the trigger, take the slack out, verify the sight smoothly, press, press, press. There we go, that one looks better. I can't see exactly where it's at, but it's somewhere in that craniocular vault. All right, threat. It's somewhere in there. I can't see exactly.
I think it's down in the chin. I'm not sure.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Ready? Threat. Where's that shot go?
I don't know.
Right here. Go ahead and put your set in there. Take slack. Put it in.
Left cheek.
Yep, that one was a little bit better.
See, it's funny. Right after you've shot, your vision's still doing this.
Yeah.
From the fluid in the eyes moving.
Yep. 5 and 1. And threat. Okay. Good. Just work through the problem. Insert and tug. Okay. Bolt forward. Bolt forward. Use that other hand. Use that other hand and use that bolt release. There you go. Find your sight. Deep breath. Finger off the trigger, safety on as we start moving, and safety back off. Find your crosshair and press, 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 press. Okay, you ready, Mary Poppins?
I'm ready.
Okay, and threat. Here's somewhere down by the bridge of the nose is where I saw it, so good shot, assess and scan.
Yeah.
Threat. Very nicely done, right on the bridge of the nose. All right, Andrew, you ready to go?
Different
Ready.
kind of magic.
Threat. Good, right at the base of the nose, right up.
Hell yeah.
Where the mustache was. Good, excellent.
Thanks, sir.
Good. And so try and maximize every time we do a drill, try and maximize the learning potential we have with it. So, you know, remember what I said here. I shoot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One shot, bang, okay, I've assessed my work through my sights, that's down, and I scan, I can top off, I can do those different things, I can work those things into my routine, that wide or fast protocol, that mental checklist, and get the most out of each drill. I get it, it's getting late in the day, everybody's tired, so we come up here and we're like, bam, 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 oh yeah, did you all see that? See how good that was? And we forget everything else and quit on it, okay? Try not to do that, try not to do that. Some people will flat out won't teach shooting off the support side with the rifle because they're like, well, people don't practice enough. If they're not good enough to do it with their strong side only, why do we want to teach them shoulder transfers when they're on the side that they're unaccustomed to working with? There's some merit in that argument. There is. And so with that, you know, that philosophy and that argument, if you don't like doing a shoulder transfer after, you know, I teach you the principles and concepts of it, or don't feel comfortable doing it and you won't practice it or whatever, nobody says you got to switch shoulders. You don't have to. We can contort our body and move around an obstacle, maximizing the usage of coverage. With keeping it in my strong side, it just takes a little bit more work, and we might expose ourselves a little bit more. But again, we got to put it into context of what we're trying to do, you know, and how we're applying this. But then on the other side of it, and why I teach it, is because I don't ever want to dumb anything down for y'all either, and not give you techniques that could be viable and maybe useful for you. The stuff is being put out there for you to develop your own individual protective system, and what you put into that is really up to you and the circumstances around your life. So why not teach it? And if it's a viable option and do a little bit of practice with it, we can really maximize cover, and it becomes pretty intuitive for us to just switch shoulders. None of us are truly ambidextrous. How close are you, Abner, left-handed?
Pretty much everything across the board.
Across the board,
yeah.
ambidextrous.
Because like ergonomic, it is specifically made for righties. So when ergonomic products came on the market in the early 90s, I was really screwed. And I was like, well, that's it. So
yeah,
off to my right hand I go.
How about you, Sean?
I could do almost as well right-handed, but left is certainly dominant.
Yep, it's your dominant hand. And that's generally what we see. You know, 90% of the population is right-handed. When we practice and we do bilateral shooting in this particular instance, and we're doing something we're not used to doing, we're accessing a different side of our brain. It actually improves our strong side shooting, because now we're getting cross convergence of our brain and we're accessing and using more of it. So there's a lot of benefits to it. So I think it is important to teach it.
And you'll probably end up shooting better and cleaner with your left because you're working harder at it.
Yep, absolutely. It's just like when we do low light class, we turn the lights off and make them shoot with no illumination in their sights. We watch people's groups tend to get tighter because they concentrate more on what they're doing.
That was surprising to me.
Yep,
I will admit that was significantly, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yep. So with this bilateral shooting, okay, there's different ways that we can do it. I'm going to show you the different techniques. At the end of the day, if you decide to switch shoulders, you're just going to throw that sucker onto the other shoulder and go to work. That's really what it comes down to. It's nothing special or magic about it. But there are some ways that we can do it. Okay, so all right, so it can be a ready position of choice. I'm just going to shoot 2 rounds on my right side, transfer over, 2 rounds on my left side. Remember, we're breaking cheek weld in the first 2 techniques, so flip your safety back on. That should be intuitive. Okay, if we just do the transfer over where I keep all my dominant hands in the same spot, okay, you can take your finger outside the trigger well and we don't have to worry about the safety, or you can flip it on. It doesn't really matter to me. Okay, so I'm here. Okay, I'm gonna find my sights. Okay, flip that safety on. In this instance, oops, I'm here. I'm gonna swim out of my sling, grab in front of the magazine well, transfer it over, find my sights, flip the safety off, roll my finger into the trigger. Okay, safety back on. I'm gonna flip it back over. I'm already out of the sling, so that's fine. I'll do it the other way where I bring this hand back. Safety on, I'm here, press it out, swap my hands, flip the safety off, safety back on, switch it back the same way. Okay, now I'm going to keep all the hands in the same spot. So I'm here, okay, safety on, I'm going to switch it over, I'm going to find my sights. And now if I want to switch my hands, I can do that. Okay, switch it back over, so on and so forth. And I can swim back into my sling whenever I need. We're negotiating around the obstacle. What's a big key thing for us if we're moving with the rifle or pistol within a structure?
Muzzle clearance.
Muzzle clearance is one. The other one is identifying that it's truly a threat. Okay, identify it's truly a threat. So with that in mind, if I'm in my home and I'm employing this rifle, the alarm goes off or I hear a window break or something, I'm moving for a reason, right? I need to get between the threat and the people that I care about And if I have to be the bullet sponge, I will. I'll sacrifice myself, but I don't want to do that. But I need to move kind of expeditiously to get into that position, right? Would everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Pieing out in this traditional manner, yeah, I'm getting a lot of information and I'm maximizing my coverage usage, okay, but does that take a lot of time? It absolutely does. So this other method, and again, we apply these as the situation dictates what I do, is the one that I was talking about with Abner here, is it's not a bad technique, but we'll come up and, you know, we want to play angles and where we are in our house is important. I want to get in a ready position, and then they set their feet and they step out, and then we go through this mantra, which it's a good mantra to have. I want to look at the hands, I want to look at the belt lines, and you guys know the reasons for that. I want to look at the demeanor of the person, because we're not just talking about in the home. What happens if you're an active shooter somewhere, you're in the grocery store, like just happened in Buffalo, okay? Now, obviously, that guy's intent and his demeanor was pretty obvious, okay? But think about other concealed carry holders, other armed citizens that might be out there. Just because a person has a gun does not mean that they're a bad person and that we need to shoot them. Because if you carry a gun all the time and you're out somewhere, what are the chances of somebody else carrying a gun being the same type of person that you are as an armed citizen?
Very good.
That's
Very
right.
good, right?
Very good.
So we look at hands, we look at belt lines, and we look demeanor to see, you know, their intent, and then surrounding areas or something that they can grab to use as a weapon. So that takes time, and we build that mantra up, and it's just like the rhythm shooting that we did earlier. We're training the muscles in our eyes to see and process information faster, so I can do an act, whatever that may be. In this case, a shooting solution or verbal commands. Okay? So when we're initially doing this, as I'm going, telling myself hands, belt line, demeanor, surrounding area, that takes time, but it speeds up as we get practice with it, and that'll come into play on the next drill when we go over here and do the target discrimination. We're going to kind of put it all together. Okay, so with him, okay, so go ahead and assess the scan, relax, go ahead and hang there. So this guy, and we'll use it for training purposes so everybody can see, if you look at this dude, he's got a gun, right? And it looks like he's going through his draw stroke and that, but could he potentially be a guy that we would give verbal commands to?
Yes.
Stop. Maybe. You know, it's
I wouldn't. If I see that, fight's on.
Yep.
Because from here, he's got me.
What happens though if that's an armed citizen?
I know. See, that's.
So.
I know, that's.
Situation, yeah. If it's in your house,
Yep.
he's dead. I'm with you. He's
Yeah.
done skis. If
Yeah.
we're in, like, you know, if we're in the mall or whatever, you're trying.
And I have this, and I know that this is useful for sucking up rounds. Yeah.
Yep. And so situation dictates what we do. I just want you guys to think about this and put it into context for different things. So when we do a more extensive block on this, we'll change different things that they have in their hands and stuff like that. But I just want you always to be thinking that mantra, demeanor being a big one, especially if you're not in your home. Is that another concealed carry holder? Do I need to shoot them, or do I need to give a verbal command? Or, hey, when I see, oh, that's somebody that I can partner up with, even though I don't know their level of training, but we can kind of work together now for the greater good. So I just want to spur that thought process in people with this. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Drop the gun! Drop it! You even got the added, you got the string on there and everything.
I know, I saw that.
And that was good. He didn't even react to it. He was like, it's on.
Yep. Good, man.
Tech cord or not, it's on.
I like the verbal commands too, and when they didn't respond, then we decided they were a threat. Good, and relax. Nicely done, nicely done.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see that gun's running better.
I know, thank you. That buffer's working a lot better now.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, get behind and maximize that cover, and then start working your way out. Give yourself enough room. Make your decision if you're going to step out. There we go, and now deal with what we got.
Ooh-wee.
Good, yeah, check your area. Excellent, good job, George, good job. When it came time to shoot, have we done anything different than we did all day today or in any of the other classes? Our feet were planted, we shot, but now we've changed up the targets a little bit and a little bit of complexity, and let's look at some of the shot placements on these, okay? So, did fairly decent here. Remember, we got to think about the anatomy, because if we practice a lot with a lot of targets where we go, it's set down center mass of the target and there's some scoring ring to give the most forgiving area for people. Well, we build that pathway and then we default to it. So not too bad here. We were up high, probably could have been up just a little bit more. We got a few errant shots, and what I attribute this to is we get focused on the thing that is the biggest threat to us.
Yep.
Gun, knife, or whatever. We have to learn, and through training and practice, is identify that it's a threat and then shift my focus to where I want my sights and bullet to go. And that's something that takes a lot of work. That's why we see so many bad guys and good folks get shot in the hands, because they never do a focus shift. Okay, let's look over here. All right, Abner, I know you shot for the head, but again, we're starting to gravitate a little bit low. If we talk about from the nape of the neck down to the armpits, and you know, across that nipple line, it's actually a little bit higher. We're starting to get low, but those are good effective hits. But we got a few errant ones here. And we're relatively close range without any stress. So it shows how quickly we can deteriorate. But we do this with these a little bit more realistic targets, even though they're still flat and one-dimensional, to start identifying these things. So you know, once you see it, what you can work on. Okay. Everybody here knew that they were going to shoot a couple of these shots that are over here, and I would be willing to bet that this one up here were because as soon as the target started turning, you were pressing the trigger. Okay, that's not what the drill was for. The drill is target discrimination. Hands, belt line, demeanor, surrounding area. Yeah, it's slow. I step out and do it. When I'm learning, it speeds up after, but everybody already decided, because I watched everybody else do it, I didn't change up the target, said, yep, time to shoot. And targets hadn't even turned yet, and people were shooting. So, you know, remember, always try and keep drills in context and what you're trying to get out of them. So otherwise, you're just running drills. You're just running drills, and a lot of times developing bad habits.
And I learned at TDI, if you go for the face, it's one and done.
No.
Yep.
He's got
Because
problems.
typically, if you pop someone in the face, they disappear so fast, you generally don't get a follow-up.
Yep. That's, you know, it's switches and timers, as Joe Shelton would say. You know, CNS shots, craniocular vault, spine box shots, that's a switch. It shuts things down right away. This stuff in here, those are timers. What we hit dictates how long the timer lasts. So we could put 3 or 4 in the high center chest, and they might be dead, they just don't know it yet, and they got fight in them. So those other options, like we talked about last week with the stitch 'em up drill or going to the pelvis, those are good things to think about if we don't get the desired results up here.
We got one drill to go, and that's coming after us. Yeehaw! The redneck mover, baby!
Redneck mover, y'all. Anatomy and where it lies. We got to shift our focus from the gun. Okay, we got an arm in the way. I might want to be a little bit lower to get that transverse shot through to hit the organs that I want to hit. Okay, lung, heart, other lung, etc. So when we're engaging moving targets, there's several different ways that we can do it. Okay, they teach you when you're doing long gun stuff.
I'm gonna let you guys go because the rain is coming, and we're gonna go ahead and just pack things up and get out of here before it hits the area. But this concludes the presentation of this class video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out Personal Survival Solutions to get signed up for classes. Thanks for watching, guys.
In the chest from a speed D. Assess and scan, and then make your way to your feet. Threat.